it serves developers. And developers, in my mind, are the most complicated resource to sell into, because you can't bullshit any developers. They are very smart. Whatever you sell them, they can build on their own. So you need to prove the value.
Welcome back to another installment of the Next Gen Case Study Series. On today's episode, we have Eran Kinsbruner, who is the Global Head of Product Marketing and Brand Strategy at Lightrun, where he leads the development of the company's product marketing strategies, focusing on observability and live debugging tools for developers. A best-selling author and renowned thought leader in DevOps and software quality, Eran has held leadership roles at companies like Perforce and Perfecto, and was a DevOps Evangelist finalist in 2021 and 2022, which is why we're excited to have him on the show. Eran, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here as well.
Yeah, the pleasure is all mine. I'm really excited to get into some of the work that you're doing here with Lightrun. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, though, Eran, let's start with a quick little background, maybe a couple of minutes on who you are, where you came from, and how you landed as the global head of product marketing and brand strategy at Lightrun.
Make it quick. I'm based out of Boston, and I've been at Lightrun for the past 2 years after serving almost a decade in being the product marketing executive at Perfecto, which then got acquired by Perforce Software. During my time at Perfecto and Perforce, I've authored 4 different books, as you mentioned earlier, and now I've fully focused on helping developers solve one of the biggest challenges that we hear, and this is improving the productivity, reducing the time it takes them to solve the most complex issues, especially when they are at runtime in production. So that's what I'm doing for Lightrun.
Very concise. That's 10 years at Perfecto acquisition, and then we move over here. You spent a couple of years at Lightrun. In that time frame in your experience, the industry, the space has evolved so greatly and so quickly. I wonder if you could share a little bit about what your experience has been like, kind of adapting to those changes and maybe some key milestones in your kind of career path that have led you here.
That's a good question. And if you'd asked me 5, 6 years ago when I was writing my third book about AI and machine learning in software, I felt back then that I'm touching something which is quite significant. It wasn't that well received back then. I thought that I was kind of ahead of something big, but no one really believed in that. And what I'm seeing right now, not just within Lightrun, but I think almost every domain, every persona, every executive that I'm discussing with is talking just about AI, machine learning, Gen AI, and how it can transform everything which we are doing. And I'm looking at even what I was doing, a decade ago as a product marketing executive. Writing content, producing tools for sales leaders, thought leadership, go-to-market, messaging, you name it, right? Back then, we were using our brains and knowledge and something that we could find, peer conversations and stuff like that. What I'm seeing, nowadays is that if you're not using, ChatGPT, if you're not using any AI tools, solutions, you feel that you're not exactly touching, the point. You feel that you are missing something, right? You're not perfect in what you're doing. So even if you feel that you are good at what you're doing, even if you feel that your messaging is sharp nowadays, you always go back and kind of let's ask the expert. And the expert today is ChatGPT, right? Do I have any spelling mistakes even? You're not even using the Google Docs, the Word for spelling mistakes. You're even asking ChatGPT to do some spelling for you and craft your messaging. So to your point, to your question, it's a major transformation over the past few years, especially over the past decade in technology, but technology which is now embracing AI to become even more powerful, even more sophisticated.
So where are you seeing the most advantageous use of AI in your space right now? Is it the generative stuff, or are you using it for other applications?
That's an amazing question. Definitely in what I'm doing, when you talk about crafting messaging, looking at, even doing some market research, around competitive intelligence and stuff like that. And these are things which are very product marketing specific. But even within my product, within Lightrun, and whoever is following Lightrun, you will see that just a few weeks ago, we have launched our AI debugger, which means you can actually use Gen AI within your, if you know about development environment, tools like IntelliJ and Visual Studio, you can use these environments to debug at runtime, but it's driven by AI, meaning AI can understand the context of why you have an issue, you have a bug in your software, and kind of guide you towards the resolution. So it's definitely helpful in what I'm doing as a product marketing executive, but it's definitely baked into the product that I'm launching in the marketplace. So to sum it up, it's all over the place: marketing, software development, cloud optimization, cost optimization, anything you can think of.
Yeah, to help optimize with that, with the messaging, and then also on the front line to actually be doing some of the work, I think is there's an advantage to being able to do it. And I get that you have to be a little bit flexible and you have to be able to adapt to it as it continues to change. How do you find your clients are responding to it in terms of how well it's received? Are people hesitant to this, or are they accepting of it, or are they demanding that it has to happen?
So just the later, they're actually expecting now, I've actually just been recently, a month ago, I was in a conference, C-level conference, executives from all of the top enterprises that you can think of. And these guys were coming with the same message. The future is going to be built on AI, Gen AI tools, and the users that are embracing it, replacing ones that are against Gen AI and AI tools. And this was kind of mind blowing because, not everyone today is using AI in his domain, in his, practice. And what these guys were saying, and I can name, JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, the biggest names that you can think of. And these guys are not just embracing AI, they're actually using this transformation as a guideline towards how it's going to shape their future. So to your point, our customers at Lightrun are expecting us to optimize what we are doing with Gen AI baked into the product. So they're definitely looking forward to how it can save their time, and maybe reduce even the cost of the software for them, because, time is money. It was always the case. So if you can shrink down time that it takes to either solve bugs or write things or, use logs and whatever things that you are using with AI, the more the better.
And there is this kind of common thread that I've noticed with anybody that's kind of adopting the AI and using it, and you've pointed at it already, where AI is not replacing jobs. It's the people who are adopting the AI are replacing people who are not adopting the AI. And so there's a distinction that I think we all need to start acknowledging, that AI is just going to become a standard part of all of the things that we do. It makes us more efficient. But that does now put a light back on what is the actual problems that we're solving. And so the business as a whole still has to run and operate from that perspective of, hey, we still do solve these other big problems. It's just that we're doing it more effectively or more efficiently, or we can cover more bases, or whatever the AI is kind of helping in terms of the way that it supports your efforts. So from that lens, how do you distinguish yourself from the other people out there doing what you're doing in an effort to attract more business or bring people into your business?
So what at least I see, within Lightrun, especially in our domain of observability and troubleshooting, is that not every organization is at the same maturity level. Okay, there are organizations that are not just ready to embrace things like AI or other, even our platform without AI it's quite unique and quite innovative. And put aside my marketing role, it's proven. But we are looking at different personas that are looking at our solutions, and it actually reflects into the entire, software engineering domain. You see organizations, huge banks, that they have a portfolio of applications from different generations. some of these generations or the software is so old that AI might not even fit into their kind of portfolio because it's antique, it's from ancient history, and they don't even want to touch it because it will break. So it works, they don't touch it. And then at the same time, they're already looking into the future and they're building maybe a replacement to what they have as the like generic and old-fashioned software. For this new software, they're looking into more modern observability with Gen AI and the other innovative solutions. So the acceptance, I think, of new technology and together with the challenge is dependent on the level of maturity and the persona that we are talking with. And that's kind of my challenge, to craft the message to different levels of maturity across different organizations. And one last point, you would see that different verticals in our broad organizations like multimedia, retail, banking and financial institutions, they have different levels of maturity when it comes to software development. So you also need to take that into consideration.
Right. That was something that I kind of overlooked even myself. It's so easy to forget that because I'm so deep in it, right? Much like you, always working on some form of technology. Some people still don't really know how to use a computer, let alone how to, program it or use AI or any of these other things that are coming out. And so that's, I think, a part of the challenge. So when it comes to, going out there and spreading the word, I'm picking up on your one of the strategies. I'm sure you're deploying multiples, but the first strategy that I kind of recognize here is that there's like an education based content model or something where you're creating use cases or making a business case where the thing that you do and where it fits and then relying kind of on that search or search engine optimization and things like that for you to be found.
Right.
What sorts of challenges have presented themselves in your efforts to do that? I know the first thing is probably the different buckets, right? Different verticals of people. The other thing I can imagine is creating content that serves the different stages of maturity, as you kind of pointed out. What else in that has kind of posed a bit of a challenge for the work that you're doing?
So I can just spend hours just talking about the challenges because there are plenty of those. I will tell you that when it comes to specifically, you mentioned search engines, SEO, like search engine optimization. Specifically for Lightrun, we are building a category that does not really exist, or we have built this category from scratch. If you search, Google for developer observability, you won't find that many, content types, and because we invented something which is modern AI and not AI, but definitely something which did not exist before Lightrun. And now you see other giants, software giants that are looking at what we are doing. And okay, this is interesting. We should probably consider doing that as well. So definitely from the beginning, when the journey was just starting for Lightrun, SEO was a huge thing for us because fighting on being on the first pages against different keywords like developer observability, and data observability versus traditional monitoring. These kind of things was a huge challenge, and it took us, to your previous point, a lot of effort to put into buckets, personas, use cases, different content. And just so I'm sure you know that different content is being consumed by different users in different media outlets. So there can be Forbes, and there can be the News Tech and Medium.com and Font.dev. There are like dozens of websites. There are obviously much more, but dozens of websites which we are competing against being kind of top search around what we are doing. So I would say it was like a huge first 2 years of sprints, putting as much content as we can to become leaders in what we are doing. I believe that at this current stage, we are considered as, the pioneers and leaders in what we are doing. We have built so many differentiation against people that are just starting to look at what we are doing. So obviously the journey isn't done yet. We're still struggling. But just to summarize, yes, SEO, building momentum in specific media outlets with content and thought leadership and speaking at events, podcasts, blogs, social media, press releases, everything around that was a huge investment, building from scratch. And now we're just building on top of that much more and obviously enriching our offering.
And well, and as the space evolves, so does I think the messaging and the different things that you might be putting out there. The one thing
Yeah,
is I think is really interesting, Aaron, that you kind of pointed at there was that you guys created something that wasn't there before. So what are people even going to search for to find something that they don't even know exists because that's how new it is? So the
yeah.
real effort now is how do you get people to know that you exist so that they know that there's a thing that you got to search for, which to your point, yeah, getting listed in some of the bigger publications and on social media and all these other things. I think that there's where um the snowball at the top of the hill kind of starts to form. Now, once you kind of push it over the ledge and let it start rolling, um, I'm sure by now you've gained some level of momentum.
Yeah.
In terms of managing now that inbound flow of people that are coming into the business, what sorts of I guess what's that kind of customer experience map look like? Like how do you help people navigate their way through to find a solution to work with you?
So we're doing it in different ways. We're doing it through partnerships,
Hmm.
okay, technology partnership, but also Lightrun is available through the AWS marketplace. So you can actually get in touch with Lightrun without touching Lightrun itself. You can just go directly to the AWS marketplace and consume Lightrun over there. But other technology partnerships like IBM and other vendors in our space also helps us get a bit more outreach. In addition, we have our website, which I'm quite proud of. It's a very rich website which has tons of resources, white papers, blogs, links to YouTube videos and playlists, documentation and user guides, interviews, customer marketing resources like case studies, hearing from others who just adopted Lightrun and are happy with what they're seeing and exploring and using. So it's a bunch of things that, in my mind, not just give the new eyes, the audience, a good experience, but also the credibility is quite high because they read from actual users how they use Lightrun, how they gain value from Lightrun. And I'm not talking just about small businesses. I'm talking about one of the like few of the biggest names in the market, like Fortune 100, Fortune 500 enterprises that are seeing value day in and day out, and it's all in our website. So that's definitely a very huge resource for onboarding, for getting new leads and new customers. So that's a great one.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Being able to shape that messaging right from the get-go and then refine it in a way that not only serves the audience but entices them, right? Like brings them in. And I get that a lot of marketing is kind of testing and tweaking and trying to figure things out. And then once you land on something, it works. Like, awesome, let's double down on that. If something's not working, we get rid of it. I wonder if, Aaron, in your experience, kind of refining that message, was there anything that kind of surprised you that worked that you didn't think would, or vice versa, something that really you really thought was going to have an impact, and it just was a tiny little drop in the pond? What was your experience like in that regard?
So I would say, especially for this product, which is very, very technical, it serves developers. And developers, in my mind, are the most complicated resource to sell into because you can't bullshit any developers. They are very smart. Whatever you sell them, they can build on their own. So you need to prove the value. And even when I was onboarding at Lightrun a few years ago, you have this aha moment when you see the product running and you don't believe that you see it, okay? Because, okay, you see something, you see it remote, you don't even know where it's running, and suddenly you control it like magic from your own environment, and that kind of blows your mind. And this was, for me, it was a huge surprise. I needed to test it on my own, talking about testing, right? Looking at actual users, and when I was demonstrating to analysts, talking about the biggest names, IDC and Forrester and Gartner, and at conferences like DevOps World and DevOps Europe, many conferences I was speaking at and demonstrating this solution. And you see the faces, which okay, they won't fall for that, right? And I'm not bullshitting, this is actually working, but they will say, okay, you got me. How are you doing that? The curiosity of how you do that, in my mind, was from one hand a huge surprise, because you nowadays with AI and with so many sophisticated technologies, you don't think that you would see such a aha moment in the eyes of senior developers, which are 20 years in the market, and when you still see it, it actually makes you feel good about what you're doing, makes you feel good about what you are marketing and who you are marketing it to. So that was kind of my own kind of hesitation plus validation that actually we have something here, and people are getting it. So that was cool.
Yeah, that aha moment effect where somebody sees something that they never thought they would ever see. I
Yeah.
think that's such a magical experience to create for people. So if you have a product that is that good, I think that would lend to the product being talk aboutable, which I get isn't really a word, but the idea here that you've created something that people will want to talk about. So does that lend to more of the customer acquisition as well in terms of like referrals and testimonials and support your efforts in that regard?
Yeah, and I've just done a couple of months ago a huge webinar. I can say the names because it's public, right? I've done it with Priceline at Booking.com and with Google, and they were just talking about how this software transform whatever these guys are doing, and taking that, but looking at other examples. You go and I'm talking about sales guys within Lightrun. They go and meet new new prospect, hopefully becoming a customer, and they start explaining them something. And after the first or second slide, they have no patience. They just want to see it. Okay. And talking about cycles, right? Or short sales cycles, they just want to see it because, okay, you're talking about something. We don't believe that it's kind of possible. Let me see it. Okay. Cut the bullshit. Show me the technology. Show me how it works. Show me why it works, and this in my mind is something that at least, when I was at Perfecto and at Perforce, awesome technology as well, right? But I needed to work much harder, from a customer acquisition perspective. We needed to say, okay, how we are different from 20 different technologies, right? The competition was so fierce, so hard, and compared to Lightrun, we are building something that no one really has. It's not that it's easy, but at least you don't need to defend yourself against others. You can say why you are different from a different traditional observability, which is easy to say, right? Because they see the demo and they understand it. But after the demo, they get it. Okay, that's different. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's creating that clarity too around it, I think is really powerful as well. That's very exciting. Eran, as we kind of come to a close of our time together, I wonder if we can look into the future a little bit at some of the goals, some of the big things that you're aiming at. What's on the horizon for Lightrun and the work that you're doing?
That's a great question, and I would say definitely doubling down on our momentum, on our positioning in the marketplace, taking our AI debugger, which we just launched, to the next level, and kind of being a dominant player in the observability space, but in our developer observability domain that we have built, and like be an example to other big vendors which are still doing the traditional observability. So they look at us and say, okay, these guys are kind of years ahead of us. So we're definitely not going to stop at where we are today. We want to redefine this observability landscape. We want to build it with AI, with other modern tools, and of course, to become the market leader in the observability landscape. Hopefully, others would follow and make it like a reality, not just Lightrun, but many other players. So that's definitely something that we are looking at. And it requires a lot of work on marketing, on sales, growing the business, getting more partnerships, thought leadership, SEO, everything that we have discussed here. So a lot of work ahead of us.
Yeah, that's really exciting. There's a huge potential for the work that you're doing, and a lot of room for growth and evolution. I think you're just at the tip of the iceberg here with things because I'm sure, as you know, being more involved in it, there's just the possibilities now are seemingly endless in terms of what we can create and how fast we can create it. So I'm really excited for the work that you're doing. Eran, if we could leave this on a high note. I wonder if you could imagine somebody else who's kind of out there, up to it, creating something for themselves, maybe facing some challenges. What sort of advice might you offer them to keep them out there and pushing forward?
So definitely, you cannot do it on your own. As you're trying to build something which is groundbreaking, again, doesn't need to be AI driven or anything like that, but a new technology, a new landscape that you're trying to build and dominate. You need to find, of course, the great people that you have within your company to build it and market it. That's fine, but you need to also build a go-to-market strategy, which is based also on partnerships, technology partnerships, other vendors that are in the space that can help you, not just from technology standpoint, can be go-to-market partners like SI, system integrators, and stuff like that. And by all means, in my mind, invest in SEO, invest in your website. The attention span today for people who are seeking for something new is very, very short. You need to be very, very sharp in how you message, and they need to find what you're doing and understand what you're doing. Like in the first, we talk about above the fold and these kind of things in the website. In the first section in your website, they need to understand at least the gist of what you're doing, so they will have the appetite to go deeper and explore. And if you have a free trial, even try themselves. So it's a full-blown strategy that you cannot do alone. You need the partners, you need the vendors, you need the website, you need the good people around you and the experience they have. And yes, you need an expert in sales, of course, to get it moving somehow.
Yeah, really, really powerful advice. Make sure you find the right people to work with that can actually drive things forward. I think that's really, really sound. If somebody wanted to reach out to you to pick your brain or perhaps work with you, Eran, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can find me if they like on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, so that's one way. Otherwise, I have my own website on both continuoustesting.dev. That's my domain. I also am very active on Amazon. I have my books there, so I have a publisher author book on Amazon, so they can find me there as well. But LinkedIn usually is the best. That's where I'm mostly active.
Beautiful. We'll make sure to link to that in the show notes so that anybody who's looking for you can find you easily. On that note, if anybody watching or listening wanted to reach out to me and my team for any of your marketing or AI needs, you can visit nextgengrowth.com. Otherwise, that's it for this episode. Thanks for joining us for this conversation, and I will see you in the next.